Here we have an embroidery machine with the embroidery unit and the embroidery hoop installed. This is not a good way to transport your sewing machine. You can damage the connectors between the embroidery unit and the actual sewing machine, and you can also break your hoop or break the connector that the hoop is actually connecting to on the embroidery unit. It's really important that all of these be separated into 3 equal parts in order for you to transport the machine safely. Here we have the same machine disassembled. You'll notice we have the embroidery unit that has been removed from the sewing machine. The hoop has been removed from the embroidery unit. The embroidery hoop latch is actually folded down so that it's not sticking up and possibly getting bumped and broken. We've taken the cord and doubled the cord and then tied it into a knot around the handle of the sewing machine so your cord doesn't get lost. It's a good idea if you have an embroidery unit case to transport your embroidery unit in the case, and your embroidery hoops usually will fit in there also. Before you disassemble your machine, you should always make sure you park your embroidery unit so that it fits in your case like it's supposed to, and that's also the safest way to transport that particular piece of equipment, your embroidery unit. You never want to pick it up by the embroidery arm. This is the embroidery arm, and you never want to pick it up by that. Grab it by the body from underneath from both sides, and that's the way you will want to transport this embroidery unit. If you have the cases for these, there again, that is the best way to transport your machine. Part of the reason for that is you do not want to accidentally bump your screen into anything sharp, the corner of a desk, anything like that, because that can fracture your screen, and that's a pretty expensive piece to have to replace. Also, do not transport your machine with any USB devices plugged into it. Not only do you run a risk of damaging the USB device, you actually also run a risk of damaging the USB receptacles, which there again is a fairly expensive repair. And also you want to make sure that you remove any of the power cords, because if you bump the power cords, usually it's not the power cord that suffers, it's the receptacle in the sewing machine that needs to be replaced, which again is an expensive repair. And it's unnecessary as long as you just remove anything that's sticking out of your sewing machine, just to make sure that it can't get bumped and damage the receptacles. Here's a basic sewing machine with a foot control and power cord installed in the machine. And although this machine has a more substantial plug and receptacle that connect to your machine, the problem is you can still bump it and still fracture the receptacle. Rarely do you damage the cords if you bump them. It's always the receptacles that suffer, which is a whole lot more expensive than replacing the power cord. But it's, there again, not necessary, because whenever you transport your machine, you always want to remove the cord from the sewing machine. Anything that's sticking out of the sewing machine, you want to remove it so that it can't get bumped and fracture and break the part. It keeps you from having to have repairs and having downtime to your sewing machine. Sergers are also susceptible to damage to the receptacles. And here we have a serger with the power cord removed. The foot control cord has not been removed, and it is also one of the small 3.5 millimeter headphone jack style plugs. So they're not the strongest in the world. This also has the tray that is there for your scraps. And if you'll notice the mast that is the thread guides right above the cones, is also still extended. You want to make sure that you set this machine up to be able to be transported properly without worrying about damaging parts of your machine. Now you'll notice that we have removed the foot control cord from the foot control receptacle. There is no power cord installed. The attachment or the tray that is actually going to catch all your scraps is removed from the machine. That we don't need for servicing, so that is actually something that you can leave at home. And the mast has been collapsed to hold the spools in place, but it's also collapsed. That's the main thing. You do not want to break or bend your mast because it's extended, and it does not take very much to damage those masts. So this is the best way to transport this machine, other than having it into a case that protects the whole. A padded case is going to protect it better than no padded case. Here we have another utility machine. We've already removed the power cord, and we've actually removed the foot control cord as well. The foot control cord is hanging there for you to see it. If you notice, the end of the foot control cord looks just like a headphone jack cord, and it is the same type fitting. It's a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack cord that actually supplies the power from the foot control to the machine so that you can use your foot control for sewing. The power cord or the foot control cord can get, the receptacles actually for those can get damaged if you transport the machine with them plugged in. The power cord is actually a lot more substantial cord that plugs into the power cord receptacle. So it takes a little bit larger whack in order to fracture the receptacle, but it can still be done. The foot control cord, however, is very small and lightweight, and so it's a very little bump, and then you'll notice that your foot control is not working, or it's intermittent. Or if you move the cord around a little bit, you can get your power, your foot control to make the sewing machine go. That's telling you that that foot control receptacle has been damaged, so that you'll have to bring it in. And in order to do that, you either have to replace the foot control receptacle, or you have to remove it and then reshape the contacts that are inside of it, which there again is an expensive repair. The easy way to keep from having that problem, just simply remove your foot control and power cord before you transport your machine. Here we have a small, lightweight embroidery machine. Because it's lightweight and small, it's easy to transport. We still get a lot of people that come in with this machine with the embroidery unit still attached and even the hoop on the embroidery unit when they bring the sewing machine in for service or for repair. These can get damaged. It's no difference than the power cord or the foot control cord or the USB installed. Anything that's additional onto the machine, you want to remove it. If it needs to come in, you want to transport those items separately. And these usually will come with some sort of a case, so it's a good idea to always put them in the case. And there again, on the embroidery units, don't hold on to the arm that moves left and right and back and forth. You want to hold on to the body of the embroidery unit when you move the embroidery unit. If you'll notice, you'll see there's no card in the card slot. There is no thumb drive or USB stick of any kind in the USB slot, and there's no power cord in the machine. The embroidery unit does not have a hoop attached to it either. This is the perfect way to transport your machine. If any additional parts need to come in, then you'll want to make sure that you carry those separately, put them in a bag, put them in the case. Cases are the best way to transport any of these machines because it helps eliminate the possibility of damage. When you bring your machines in like this little embroidery unit for servicing, it's a good idea to always bring in all the stuff that the service area would need in order for your machine to be completely stitched out. So you would need the embroidery unit, the hoop loaded with stabilizer and fabric, the power cord, The thumb drive or a card, if you're having specific problems with any of the stitches that are on either the thumb drive or the card, your bobbin and bobbin case, and the thread that you use the most. Here you'll notice that we have a treadle sewing machine. This is the same type of hinge mechanism that you'll see on most of the older sewing machines that are in sewing machine cabinets. You will notice two hinges. Those two hinges actually insert into the machine from the bottom, the sewing machine from the bottom, and they have set screws that actually hold the machine onto the hinges. If you notice, you'll be able to see the two hinges from the bottom side of the machine. There was the two screws that are actually on the body of the machine that you tighten to hold the hinges into the hole on the back of the sewing machine. So all you need to do is loosen those two screws that I just showed you. Loosen those two screws, 2 to 3 turns a piece. You don't need to get more than that. And the sewing head will lift right off of the hinges. When you go to put the machine back on, you're just basically reversing the process. You don't need to take the screws out of the cabinet in order to remove the hinges from the cabinet. The hinges can stay in the cabinet. All you're going to do is loosen the set screws on the bottom side of the sewing machine towards the back where the two hinges go into the machine, 2 or 3 turns, and the sewing machine will lift off. Well, I hope this video helps some of you avoid any damage to your machines during transport, whether it be to a retreat or sewing class or bringing it in for servicing or just going somewhere with a friend to sew. Please like and subscribe and share. That helps us with our video getting out to more people. And the comments below, you can always ask questions in there. I'll always try to answer all the questions I can. If you'd like to see a specific video, please leave me that information in the comments and I'll do what I can to get one out for you. I really appreciate you guys watching and I hope this helps. Have a good day.